right, so this is our position video for our position paper. I'm Jack Conless.
I'm Joshua Krieg.
Golden Mainhouse.
Ben Gonsman.
And so what we wanted to do first off was just give you a little bit of intro to our topic and what we'll be covering throughout the video. So our position topic was whether college athletes should be paid or not. Kind of what we'll be covering throughout this video are the different, the dashboard that we created, the different diagrams, and then kind of our overall view on the topic. And just to get started, we just wanted to say that the stance that we ended up taking on this position was that we felt that college athletes should not be paid. So to get us started, Ben is going to go into our dashboard and kind of explain how he set it up. So Ben.
Yeah, I set up our dashboard so that it would be most visually appealing for our audience. And I chose to do that in a left to right manner, just like you would read a book.
Ben, would there be anything that you would want to change on the dashboard, or do you think that that would be the best fit?
I think it was the best way. I set it up in a left to right manner. You read it like a book, where in the left top left corner, you get the points of interest, the most important information. And this way, I feel like it flows nicely and it draws the attention of the viewer where I want it to be.
So I was just kind of curious, Ben, what was the kind of the point in the stacked donut chart? I mean, I know we didn't include it in our paper, but if you could just kind of speak on how it kind of relates to our overall point from the dashboard.
Right, so the purpose of the stacked donut chart was to show the comparison between men's and women's NCAA athletics in terms of the scholarships that they earn. So the inner ring is the men and the outer ring is the women. And so as you can see, they're fairly even, with the women surprisingly receiving slightly more in scholarships than the men. I just thought that it would add another visually appealing aspect to the dashboard.
And then I was just wondering, the color blue was used a lot in your dashboard. Was there a specific reason, or just visually appealing?
Yeah, so that's the primary color for the NCAA, and it's also a fairly neutral color that is easy to see. So in order to stick to the theme and make it visually appealing, we used a significant amount of blue in the dashboard.
Nice. So the next one we wanted to go into was our diagram one, and so that was the one I created, and I'm going to go ahead and explain kind of the purpose and what it serves for our diagram, for our paper, sorry. So for this diagram, I was looking at if there was a correlation between how many years a coach has coached at his or her respective university and how much they were being paid. This was done to see how much their universities value them in terms of dollars, since in our society, money really equals respect in many people's eyes. Although there was not a strong correlation, we were able to see that the higher paid coaches really came from the biggest programs in college, so Duke, Michigan State, and the University of Kentucky. In turn, all these programs have had controversy for paying players in the past. From this, we were kind of able to see more accurately that paying college athletes would really only partially benefit really the best of the best in college sports.
So, Jack, my question for your chart is, why did you decide to use triangles as your data points?
So the triangles were something I kind of thought would be the easiest way for our audience to distinction in the different points that were made on the graph here. Since there are a lot different points, the triangles would be an easy way for them to see all of the separate points and not really look almost like one big blotch, really, since there are a lot of different points here.
And then I was just wondering about your axis. Why did you use the year 0 from 50 rather than starting with the first year and ending with the last year of the coaches?
So I feel as if most to all charts should really start at the number 0, and if it's going from 0 to 50, I think it gave kind of our audience a better idea of some of the younger and older coaches. If it ended at the number 43, which is that last triangle all the way to the right, that's how many years Jim Boeheim from Syracuse University has been coaching. Really, the point in not ending it all the way there would that he would be much more of an outlier, and it would kind of skew our trend line that we have built.
It appears as though the number of years of service does not strongly correlate to a higher salary. Why do you think that is?
I kind of wondered that too when I first did this and kind of laid it all out. But I think the reason behind this is that the endowments of the university and how much their programs are funded, including what conference they are in, that plays a huge role. And so, some schools may be receiving larger alumni support or donations to where they're able to pay their coaches more money. And also, something that I kind of thought thought of too was like I believe that a lot of coaches aren't strictly in it for the money. They're in it because they love the game and love the players that they get to coach. So some might take a little bit less pay cut to maybe get their program some better facilities or better academic supports and things like that.
Cool. So our second diagram is really all about one and dones. And so one and done is a player who comes and plays 1 year in college and then goes directly to the NBA or the NFL or wherever to start earning money quicker. That is because it's specifically evident in basketball because the requirement to be in the NBA is 19 as opposed to 18. So players coming out of high school aren't able to directly go to the NBA and are forced to stay in college. So this is just to show the trend in the number of one and dones over the years.
So the thing that really stuck out to me when I looked at this was the picture that you used in the background for this diagram. So why did you pick this picture of Zion Williamson to use as your background?
Yeah, the picture of Zion in the background was to add an element of emotion. The idea of emotion in charts and graphs is a fairly new trend in the data visualization field. And this picture is of when he was injured in this season, earlier in game against a rival, North Carolina. You can clearly see his pain, and that appeals to the emotion of the viewers. So I chose him in particular because he's one of the most polarizing one-and-done players recently, and that correlates directly to the story of that the visual is trying to tell.
Ben, I have a question. So when looking at the graph, why do you think there's a positive correlation?
Yeah, I think this is because players no longer see the tremendous value that earning a degree has and the value of scholarships that they are given. Oftentimes, professional athletes go broke after their playing career because they have nothing to fall back on and they spent their money poorly. They are essentially getting a free education, and the value of that education is being overlooked more and more. In my opinion, it is essential that the issue be addressed by changing the age limit to be in the NBA from 19 to 18.
And then just a formatting question, why the link in the top right as opposed to like the bottom left or something?
Yeah, in this case, I included the link on the top right of the visual because there wasn't enough room in the bottom left. I didn't want to make the graph look cluttered.
And then the third diagram was a horizontal bar chart showing some differences between the divisions of college levels and the gender split between men and women. The purpose of the diagram is just to show the yearly scholarly awards on average based on the college athletics divisions, and then just to split the genders up so you can see the distribution.
So Colton, with this graph, why did you feel like it was important to include these lower divisions? So in specific, NAIA and the other four-year schools we see here.
I think this is an important distinction to show because as we expect Division I schools to pay their scholarships more, it's also nice to see that the NAIA and other four-year schools also aren't getting nothing for their time.
Colton, why do you think women are receiving more funding into their programs?
I think they're receiving more because the men, I believe, get more at first, but then it's divided up into more men because there's more college athletes that are men. So on average, each woman is getting more scholarship than men.
What do scholarships contribute to the argument of why we should not pay student athletes?
Scholarships contribute to the argument because student athletes aren't getting paid, but in a way they are getting paid to go to the school and play for the school. They're going to come out of college debt free if they get a full ride, as opposed to their counterpart who aren't student athletes who aren't getting paid anything to go or little scholarships.
Okay, so for diagram 4, we had NCAA or NCAA revenues, and we created a stacked vertical bar chart. And the purpose was to look at Division I schools and look at their subdivisions that are the FBS, which is the blue bar, and it's the football bowl eligible, and then FCS, which is the orange bar and is the non-bowl eligible orange schools, and then and the gray bar is the schools without D1 football programs, and we wanted to measure their revenues over an 11-year span. And the benefit shows that there is a monetary increase for these D1 schools, and that they're able to fund these programs and support student athlete needs.
I have a question. Over the 11 years that you looked at in your chart, why do you think there's such a positive trend for all those years?
Colton, my thought is that there's more support with more graduating alumni and viewership, and that's where I think the positive trend comes from.
You use a lot of blue and orange and gray, and I'm just curious as to why you chose those colors.
I wanted to stay consistent with the NCAA theme. I thought it was easy to differentiate between the subdivisions.
Cool. So then, why do you think it was the most effective chart to use here, the stacked bar chart?
Just kind of what I told Ben here. I thought it was easy to differentiate, and I thought maybe a clustered bar chart would be overwhelming, and it wouldn't clearly represent for the reader how to compare. I don't know. I thought it just wouldn't have been as clear to read.
If you could change anything about the visual, what would it be and why?
I think I would change the hyperlink to maybe like a light gray, so it's not taking away the attention from the vertical bar chart here. And also, I think I would change the legend. You could see the acronyms, the FBS and the FCS. I feel like it's not common knowledge, so maybe I would lay out the subdivision names.
So that kind of wraps up all of our dashboard diagrams that we had throughout this position paper and kind of why we felt they would be the best ones to use for our topic and position that we ended up taking. So finally, kind of just to wrap up a little bit of final thoughts, we kind of wanted to just have a discussion of maybe the things that we might have wanted to explore further, kind of what interesting points we kind of gained from this. So Ben, you want to get us started with some of those?
Yeah, if I could go further in depth on this topic, I think I would research some of the more impact that the degree that they earn in college has after their sporting and playing athletic career. Because we all know you're only going to be able to play sports for so long, and you got to have something to fall back on. And I think the degree in this situation is just a really vital asset to have. So if I had more time, I would enjoy delving into that.
For me, I would look at the total amount of scholarships granted per year per gender and division. I know we did it with just the averages of it, but I feel like seeing it in bulk and then seeing how many men there are compared to women and how those scholarships are getting divided could really make this data more impactful.
I think it would have been a little bit interesting to see all the program funding and looking at like how it's actually being broke down, like coach salary, staff salary, training programs, the gear. I think laying that all out would have been an interesting topic to research.
Yeah, and for me, I just really honestly love sports a lot, so this was something in specific that was really interesting to kind of see all the different scholarships by sport, by different schools, and I think I would have really liked to go more in depth on the women's side. I think we focused a lot on the men's side of it, but on the women's side too, I would have liked to be able to go more in depth, even though we included some of the statistics and averages. I think it would have been really beneficial to go more in depth on all of their sports.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.